We're talking about this incident, or this arrest or arrest warrant or whatever you want to call it, of this Quran teacher and what he's done with a convert woman and her daughter. And what we're talking about here is a couple of important things. Is that these allegations were absolutely beyond disgusting. There's not even a debate about it. It's not like this is debatable. Of course, he has to face this is the government's, the FBI's accusation of him. I read half the files. I couldn't even read the rest of it because of how gross it was. But most people have read it, and they pretty much seem to be damning, I guess you can say. And I just ask a couple questions every time I see someone who does this to a student. Couldn't you do your sins with somebody else? You know, I really just wonder about this. It really makes me wonder. And it must be that, that's too boring, so he wants to experiment with something else. But think about it. I mean, if I want to commit some sins, why would you loop in innocent people? Why would you loop in students of Quran? Why would you go that route? Why don't you go do your sins somewhere far, far away? The reason is people are blinded. That's one of the reasons. Another theory going around is that the person himself was abused. So it's all mixed for them, right? Person himself did take courses with an abuser at some point in time, a convicted abuser. Of course, some people will say that's all conspiracy. We're not going to get into that. But it just makes you wonder, like, why would you do it? Why would you do it? Ruin another person's life? And it appears to be that this is like somebody, who is a convert. You duped a convert using the Quran. That's like, on top of that, that's like a second crime right there. And I asked my sheikh, I said, hypothetically this happens. What do we do? A married man uses the Quran to lure other people into sexual deviance. I said, he thought for a while, and he said, yuqtal. Yuqtal. Because you're abusing kids. You're misusing the Quran. Execution by Sharia. That's what he said. That's what his opinion was. Our deen is not dependent on any single individual. And there's a big difference between caution and suspicion. Everybody should be cautious. You don't have to be suspicious, but everybody should be cautious. And you don't imagine perfection from anybody. And that's the beauty of our religion. We don't rely upon people. Of course, we rely upon people to transmit our religion for us, but not one single individual. The transmission of the religion is in mass. If a large swath of those people were to be highlight, delete, you still have the transmission of the religion. And here's another thing. You can never trust your nafs or anyone else's nafs. Even if anybody asks me, do you trust your kids? I say, do my kids have a nafs? I don't even trust myself, right? I don't trust myself. Nobody should let their guard down with their nafs. So when you're talking to a woman or to a girl online, it is a location where intimate, inappropriate talk can occur, right? Yes or no? The answer is yes. Therefore, you can't really trust yourself with that. And some people say, how could we say that? Because we have a nafs. That's the philosophy in Islam, is as long as we have egos, as long as we have the self aspect of things, we have to be very cautious. We have to be very cautious of everything. Any kind of knowledge that doesn't refine our akhlaq, and our akhlaq is the first determiner of character, is the sacred law. That's the first thing. Sacred law is the first thing. I mean, if we're not observing that, then what is the point of all that knowledge, right? What's the point of all that knowledge if we're not observing character and akhlaq? Okay. Secondly, there should be zero tolerance for the abuse of kids. If a Quran teacher or a scholar of sorts ended up committing zina, that's bad. That's terrible. He's especially using his status as a teacher to lure the students and do that. Of course, he's got to be eliminated from the community. But if he does that with a child and he destroys the innocence of a child by this deviance, that's a whole nother matter. Like, you literally ruining someone's life. That's a whole nother matter. Okay, that's a whole nother matter. The mother is in jail on bond of $2 million, which she's not going to pay. And the mother, her mugshot went around, and it looks like, astaghfirullah azim to say this about somebody, but it looks like it really just took advantage of a crackhead, basically. I hate to say that, but that's really what it looks like. Because if you're thinking, what kind of mother would do this? Probably a mother herself has been used and abused, and that's what it looks like, right?